just control your attention and reality is yours. Now, I'm going to show you how scientists have discovered the key to creating reality. Now, scientists, mystics, and the greatest minds of all time understood this inherently. Whether it was ancient civilization, modern civilization, there was one core fundamental truth that the greatest people of our time used to create their reality. Now, you need to understand this because this one core truth unlocks our ability to create limitless levels of health, wealth, love, and anything we wanted and more in our life. I want you to know that our minds are not passive observers. They're active participants in shaping our world. And that is what scientists have discovered. Now, what scientists have discovered using something called the double slit experiment, when they took two parallel slits out of a barrier that they set up in an environmental test situation, and they shot light particles at the slits with a detection screen behind, they came to some very, very important observations. Now, the first thing that they learned is that the particles are impacted by the observer. The light particles that were shot through the double slits were actually impacted by the observer. The second thing they understood is that quantum particles have multiple paths simultaneously. Now, I'm going to tell you how this pertains to you and why it's knowledge that you need to embody and take into your own life as you learn to navigate things that are going on. So let's first talk about the observer effect, because the observer effect is that we know light particles and electrons are 98% energy, right? They're 98% infinite potentiality. This is how people stumbled upon the quantum field, because we are only able to observe the core particle when there is an observer. And this is something that the double slit experiment proved. Now, the second thing is that these quantum particles have multiple paths simultaneously. This is important for you to understand because at a core level of your experience, there are multiple realities that your life could be taking shape in. You just have to observe that reality. Become an observer to the thoughts, the beliefs, the actions, the habits, the successes that align with that reality, and you start to validate more of that into your life. Now, this is why it's going to be so important that we learn to just control our attention, and reality is going to be ours, because we know that at the foundation of our experience, we are co-creating the experience with our awareness, with our conscious awareness. We can become aware of things we want, and by investing time, energy, and attention, we can attract more of that into our life. Now, I want you to understand that your mind shapes reality. Your mindset and assumptions dictate the experience you have and what you attract into your life. Now, let's talk about how we can take control of reality. The first thing I want you to understand is you need to become aware of your thoughts, beliefs, and self-image, because this is the key to transformation, and I'm going to tell you how. So in 2022, I went $80,000 in debt. I was addicted to smoking weed. I got cheated on. My business was failing. When I said I woke up in hell, I woke up in hell. But I realized that that state of hell was created in my mind. It was created in my actions. It was created in my habits. And I was validating it time and time again by participating in that loop, by saying yes to the weed, saying yes to the shitty food, saying yes to the victim mindset. I was perpetually fueling a self-fulfilling prophecy of my own hell. But as soon as I went through immense suffering, I came upon knowledge like this, and I was like, okay, I can become aware of these thoughts that are using emotion to create these beliefs, which are shaping my overall self-image, and I can use this to transform myself. On the other side of this, I built a $1.7 million business. I've lost 40 pounds. I've achieved everything I've wanted to achieve by 25. Now, the second thing I want you to understand is that when you consciously direct your attention, you must learn to detach from limiting beliefs and past experiences, because this is how you are truly going to take control of your reality. And now the best way we can understand this is through the concept of the duality of man. If you have one foot in the door and one foot out the door, you're not going to fully commit to embodying the new life and the new reality you want to experience. If you do not detach from limiting beliefs, if you do not move on from past experiences or make peace with them, if you not learn to transcend these things that are keeping us in place, then you are never going to be able to take control of your reality and create whatever you wanted. Now, this graph is going to explain it all. Life is filled with ups and downs. Energy itself is a wave. We have a wave pattern. which means there's going to be a natural ebb and flow to life. So the ups and downs are expected. That's the first thing. We don't have to attach to them. It's not just our life. It is a law of the universe. It is a law of nature. Now, we have positive and negative things that happen in our life. And if we ride the pendulum and we attach to the outcomes, we ride our way to the highest of highs, just like we fall all the way down to the lowest of lows, we start to get stuck in this paralysis, in this back and forth, where we are not allowing our energy to flow into a direction because it is paralyzed, it is stuck, it becomes stagnant. But as soon as we learn that we can transcend the polarization, we enter flow state. We start to experience life for what it is. We are no longer governed by the duality. We are no longer governed by good and bad. This is one of the core principles and the foundation of our experience. And when you fully transcend this concept, you unlock your power as a creator. This is why we have the concept of the yin and the yang, because there cannot be good without a little bad, and there can't be bad without a little good. It is the nature of the universe. Now, I want you to understand the importance of overcoming the polarization. Because when you're experiencing this polarization, you are giving your attention and your energy to a state of fear, state of anger, state of guilt. You are very reactive. I vividly remember my reactions because my mom, God bless her soul, she challenged me. She pushed me to grow. She knew I had it in me, and she did not make my life easy when I was going through my darkness. When I was smoking weed, she's like, you should not be doing that. And she came for me and made sure I knew I shouldn't be doing that. But I was so reactive. I felt this visceral pain, this anger, and I wanted to project it upon her, but I knew I couldn't because she was so loving. She was so caring. She really wanted what's best for me, and she wanted me to stop smoking weed, which showed me the mirror, which showed me that I was internalizing these traits, which are keeping me paralyzed. I was so judgmentative of myself that I wasn't able to grow because I was stuck in this polarization. Now, that was because I was so focused on an external locus of control. I was focused on how I would be perceived by the outside, on external outcomes. But as soon as I learned to transcend in the direction of flow, which is a neutral charge in a sense, you dissolve unwanted realities because you detach from limiting beliefs and you move on from past experiences. You are no longer giving energy and feeding your attention to realities you no longer want to observe. Observer effect. This restores your power to create in the power of now. Now, the power of now, at the fundamental level, the quantum level, the electron cloud, quantum field, is the idea that all potential exists in the now, and that the past and the future are just figments of our imagination. They're figments of our ego looking to survive out of fear, out of lack, out of scarcity. We're forecasting because we are survival creatures. But now, we are no longer fighting saber-toothed tigers. We are fighting the survival mechanism of morning traffic, of emails at 6 a.m. This is what sends us into a state of fight or flight. When we are in a state of fight or flight, we become polarized. We are the only mammal that cannot return to homeostasis immediately. A gazelle gets attacked by a tiger, it survives, it is no longer in fight or flight, it immediately restores homeostasis. But humans experience polarization, and that is why we spiral. That is why we have a downward spiral into the hells of our own creation. Now, I want to introduce you to some practical steps you can use to shift your reality. The more you engage with these, the more attention you give to it, reality is yours. Because discipline is destiny. Discipline sets you free. Because you can trust that you're in control of the proper inputs, that you are no longer bound by the emotion governing your experience and causing polarization, and you can transcend above that and make the highest decision in service of your intention and your goals. Now, the first thing is you need to live in the present because that's all we have. You can make peace with your past. You can no longer worry about what tomorrow has to hold. And then you restore your energy to the moment. Think about it. If I'm focused on my girlfriend that cheated me in 2020, I'm fractalizing my energy or fracturing my energy and giving it to the past. So I have 15% of my energy there. Now, if I brought 15% of that energy and attention back, I could use it all in the present moment to attract what I wanted and more. A more beautiful and loving girlfriend, a stronger, more fulfilling business. If I'm worried about tomorrow, my energy is in tomorrow. The concept of tomorrow that doesn't even exist. It's in my head. I can restore that to the now by being present, by being mindful, by serving all I have in front of me. The second thing is you need to remove judgment and comparison. Because when you judge yourself, you are segmenting your power. You are creating a polarization, saying it should not be like that, instead of transcending above it in a neutral manner. One of the first things I learned when I wanted to overcome smoking weed and my addiction to it was I could no longer judge myself for doing it. I could no longer experience the anger, the fear, the guilt when my mom would call me out. When I did that, I freed myself. I freed myself from hell. The next thing is gratitude, because gratitude shifts your focus in the direction of a glass half full mindset. If you're an entrepreneur and you're making $20,000 a month and you're focused about all the clients you didn't close, that's scarcity. If you're focused on all the systems you didn't build and all the work you have to do, that's scarcity, that's fear, that's lack. But if you're so grateful that you have control of your schedule, you're making great money, and you have the ability to improve tomorrow, you're attracting a higher frequency. You're attracting a more fulfilling and gratitude-backed experience. The fourth thing we need to practice is self-kindness and compassion. And this just goes back to the fact that if you're repressing a version of yourself, if you're judging a version of yourself, casting a shadow, right? Like Lucifer was cast from heaven. We have versions of ourselves that we are shameful of, that we cast to the darkest places that we don't want to show the world. We got to go back and pick them up and say, I'm sorry. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, we're going to reintegrate into our power, and we're going to do what we want with this life. You have to make peace with your demons, not hide from them, not turn them away, not suppress them. That's when energy gets stored in the body and we have trauma, we develop disease. That is the last thing we want. And it all starts with compassion. Like, look at the world. No one is perfect. It took me multiple cycles of going back to weed to stop. It took me multiple cycles. So if I know that it's going to happen, I don't need to judge myself. Just need to get back on the horse. That karmic loop is going to get smaller, it's going to get shorter, it's going to be less aggressive, and you're going to have more wisdom to carry you through the tougher experiences of overcoming. And it all starts with self-kindness and compassion. Now, the fifth thing is you need to embody your desired state now. There's this book called Power versus Force. And the general concept is we cannot force things out of a place of ego and scarcity. We're going to get into object referral, we're going to get into self-referral, but it's the idea that power is a resonant frequency. Things like love, things like gratitude, they exist. They're like gravity, they are. Unconditional love is conditionless, meaning it is a natural state that is no longer dependent upon an external source or an object. When you can embody your desired state now, right? If you want freedom, if you want wealth, you want love, which makes you feel fulfillment on the inside, you can give those things to yourself now. You can give yourself the freedom of mind, the freedom of burden, the freedom of limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. If you want a beautiful girlfriend, you have to love yourself first, because a healthy relationship is when you're 100%, not 50-50. This concept will change your life, so let's break it down a little more. Self versus object referral. Object referral is ego-based. Your joy is dependent on an external source, a finite source of power. If I think I'm going to be worthy when I have the $1 million business, then I'm going to experience no fulfillment when I hit that number. But if I realize that I can reframe it and that success is something I can find now through discipline, through hard work, for doing the small, minute tasks that I would not normally do because I was so focused on an outcome, by just really fully immersing myself in the process. Like, I didn't want to make these videos. I was tired. It's time for dinner. But I sat here, I got through it. I got back into flow state because I was no longer bound by the polarization. I wasn't fearful. I wasn't reactive. I wasn't going to let an external thing control my output. I moved into self-referral, which is an internal state of power. When you find power within, you are restoring your power and energy to yourself. You are taking power away from a person, from a thing that you would normally validate your experience in, right? If you're waiting for a girl to text you back, you're giving her power. If you're waiting for a certain dollar amount to show up on your screen, you're giving that thing power. Power is something you ground. That's what aura is. It's a concentrated amount of present energy. You are fully present when you can be 10 toes down in the now, dealing with all the chaos. And you are no longer bound by an external source. You are fulfilled in the spiritual plane, which mirrors all of your desires into the physical world of matter. That's the mirror principle. It cannot be the other way. The spiritual realm is the realm of cause. The physical realm, matter, the realm of effect. Self-referral allows you to align with the deepest truths. The deepest truths is that we are part of a collective experience, that we all come from the same source, and that source is perfectly harmonious. We didn't end up here by chance. Now, this is liberating, knowing that life is taking its natural course and you do not need to force it out of a place of ego, out of a place of scarcity, out of a place of fear. You are rekindling and reconnecting with your deepest self, your highest self, some of the core truths about our experience. And you need to no longer be governed and leave energy in the external world. When you do this, you centralize your power and you let nature and the universe naturally take its course. Now, to sum up, controlling your attention and making reality yours, the first thing I want you to understand that science proved was you are a co-creator. You are co-creating your experience. That everything on the physical world that you think you're experiencing is a product of a perception you have within, a mindset, a thought, a limiting belief that is governing your reality. Now, we no longer want to be polarized by lower states of mind. So we need to avoid that duality through transcending the good and the bad. You have to understand that these things are natural waves. It is a natural law of the universe to experience the back and forth, the expansion and the contraction. That is natural law. And we can transcend that by moving into a place of spirit, right? Because spirit, the immaterial, is not bound by physical construct. And from here, from the realm of spirit, you can find what you seek within. You can find the love, you can find the happiness, you can find the joy, the purpose, all within. It is a realization away and is actually about removing the limiting blocks in between you and that experience. So if you like this video and you want to see some more breakdowns from me, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.